Can I
You know,
say on Drama Queen for 1 second with the E Channel? The E Channel at that time, I felt like it needed a big success. Was there an frustration that, like, dang, I know I could have delivered for multiple seasons, but is there a part of you that looks back that wishes, because again, I'm saying at that time, and even now, the E Channel's sort of been falling short.
right.
Do you get mad about them not picking you up for a second season, or were
I
you?
don't get mad because at the end of the day, I feel like the universe never conspires against us. The
Mhm.
universe conspires for us. Literally using all of these platforms and here's what your audience needs to understand. Network executives have no imagination. They're fearful. If they don't
Mhm.
see it, they don't get it. They're too afraid to take a risk. Like, I picked Ronnie over Rob Lowe. Am I?
Mhm.
And the show's not a hit. Am I going to lose my job because I picked Ronnie?
Yeah.
So to go back to the drama queen and you schooling me, because Dance Moms was such a huge hit, and Jeff Collins, who produced Dance Moms, produced my show, The Drama Queen. They wanted me to be like the Abby Lee Miller of
Mhm.
this world. But then they didn't even use my office when I would
Yeah.
be negotiating a deal for a client I'm managing. They'd be like, we don't want to show that on E because we're NBC and you're negotiating with CBS, a competing network.
Wow. Yeah.
One day we shot my boot camp and all the camera guys and makeup and hair and everybody was at my studio and I'm teaching a boot camp. And all of the camera and audio people came up to me and go, this is the fucking show, man. You are
Mhm.
brilliant when you're teaching. Did they
Mhm.
show 1 ounce of that? Never. Nope. And to me, it was like, if you want me to be like Abby, she teaches fucking dance. Let me teach my goddamn classes. No,
Yeah.
you're too worried about me going to therapy with my baby daddy. And that's not authentic. So
Yeah.
to be perfectly honest, I hated it because it was not my authentic life,
Yeah.
and that's why it didn't succeed. Because if they would have authentically had Marki Costello unapologetically doing what she does, it would have been a huge hit. But you are trying to mold me into, I'm not Abby Lee Miller.
Yeah. So they're taking a foregone conclusion, a success, and they're just
They're
trying
taking
to
a format that worked and then trying to put me in that format
yeah.
versus that format worked. Now let's evolve this format, taking like 3
Yeah.
kernels from this one and popping them with this one, but they're too afraid.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was just gonna jokingly say, had you had me on the show, would have been way better. Because I worked in Marky's office, but that's the detachment that I had when I watched it. Because I'm like, okay, I worked in Marky's office at the
Know
point that
me,
you,
and you're
yeah,
like, this isn't her.
I was
Right,
like, yeah, I was like, let's
right,
keep the camera rolling, raw footage, And
right.
I
I mean,
worked in the office. I know how you
right,
you would have people come into that office with all the gusto, and then they would go out darn near, in
right,
tears, and then they
right,
would be mad at you because they thought you didn't know shit suddenly. But then they
right,
would come back around and be like, oh, I implemented some of those teachings and it
right,
worked for the
right,
career. So it was a lot of that. And so when I watched it, of course, I moved to New York at the time, so I couldn't do the show regardless. But I was jokingly like, oh, you should have had me on the show. And
right.
yeah, it was even like the little, because you have a lot of little what is it, neurotic things about you. Your office is so
I'm OCD,
your
clean.
office, when you work in your office, like, you better get used to like the way you will walk up slow, just slivering like a cat, like a cheetah, and
Right,
you will walk to the desk and you will see your orchid. She will stare at her orchid, she will sliver over and she'll just grab one of the petals, she'll look at it and she'll be like, Ronnie, go get me some more orchids. You know what I'm saying? And if you get the coffee too, like when I would do your coffee order, and I did other stuff too. I worked on the back end with some of the digital
right.
stuff, all the things, made great phone calls for all the clients, networks. I did a lot with you, but even the other stuff, it was so neurotic in a really like compelling way. And all we saw on Drama Queen on the E channel was a different thing, So I just make the joke that it should have been your office. The way you would come to the table, you would spray down the table. It's like you were looking for dirt all the time.
All the
You
time.
you'd get your little pins that were like with your clients,
Right,
and you would just like move them around. I was like,
right.
why is she so busybody? What's going on?
Once again, all of that neuroticness and what I did to make people stars. I mean, people would come. Listen, I've had everybody from, God, Whitney Cummings to,
Mhm.
Alex Curry to Carrie Champion to Jason. I mean, you think about all of the people that came through my doors. It's mind
Yeah.
boggling.
Can I
You know,
say on Drama Queen for 1 second with the E Channel? The E
yeah,
Channel at that time, I felt like it needed a big success.
right.
Are you at all you just kind of stated that like, you did it, whatever. It wasn't the show that was great for you, which is fine. But with that being said, was there an frustration that like, dang, I know I could have delivered for multiple seasons. Obviously, that would have changed the game within your business. Not that you need the reality show, but is there a part of you that looks back that wishes, because again, I'm saying at that time, and even now, the E channel's sort of been falling short.
Right.
Do you get mad about them not picking you up for a second season, or were
I
you?
don't get mad because at the end of the day, I feel like the universe never conspires against us. The
Mhm,
universe conspires for us. Like
mhm,
meaning, and so I guess that was my story. Like I wake up every day. I'm so grateful for everything I have in my life. You know what I mean? Because
mhm,
and the universe has never disappointed me and it will continue to take care of me. And I live my life like that. I'm in this great evolution where I'll go to a college. I'll go to, or, University of Oregon. They're the number one football team on the college circuit right now, and work with the
mhm,
Oregon Ducks, but maybe won't make the NFL. But
mhm.
how can they utilize the 900,000 followers they have? How can they build a brand that can
That's
help them
huge right
after
now.
college? That's what I
That's
love.
huge right now, and not that the athletes don't wanna win in that world, but you're seeing the Pat McAfee, who I believe, not taken away from his athleticism, but I believe he was a kicker, is what my brother
Yeah,
said. And
yeah,
so it's like you have this new world that some people are becoming more successful in this podcast, content creation space. It's
right.
really, like, I guess you made sense earlier. You said there's no guardrails anymore. Things have certainly
No,
changed. Yeah.
no.
Yeah. For what
And
it's
that's
worth, though, I think the E channel did mess up by not bringing you back for another season. I think it could have changed. It could have evolved. In New York City, I was dear friends with Stephanie, and I think Stephanie went on to go become a news reporter, and
yeah,
she's just really wonderful. So you had it all. It just needed to be like, shaken up a little bit. And I thought, I used to say this, just as an outsider looking in and a supporter and a friend of yours. I used to say if she would have got that second season, she would have got like 8 seasons.
right. Well, you know what's
But you only
interesting?
gave her one. You didn't give it enough chance to
Right.
go. Yeah.
And what's interesting too is that, like, someone like Stephanie, who worked in my office, who took classes, like,
Mhm.
I mean, she did it all for me. But look at how I really pumped out great people that worked
Mhm.
in my office,
Yeah.
great talent, meaning because I think one thing about me is I have crazy work ethic. I mean, if I was
Mhm.
teaching a boot camp I'd work 7 days a week. I mean, I loved working. I loved my
Yeah.
business. I love what I built. I mean, my company, we cast the first Bachelor, the biggest hit, the biggest unscripted, reality show. Jackie Pittman, who I've known for 50 years, we worked at Love Connection together, is doing the
Mhm.
Golden Bachelor at Rhett and just got nominated for an Emmy. Back in my day, there weren't Emmys for when we were doing unscripted, but it's okay. Everything evolves, and I don't have any regrets. You've got to evolve, and to, like, we kind of were gossiping like about Teresa and Melissa from the Real Housewives of New
Real
Jersey,
House was in New York, New Jersey. Yep. Bravo.
and why it's not working. I'm Team Gorgas all the way.
Yes.
Um, but the problem with Teresa is she had the flipping table. She went to jail. She had
Mhm.
all of these
Mhm.
crazy things that made for good reality.
Mhm.
But then it just became the same old shit.
Hey, Ronnie Jr.